My daughter-in-law looked me in the eye and deleted the one folder she thought was just my old junk. Then she smirked and said, "You don't own this anymore." I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I simply packed my bags and left. By morning, their entire business was locked. The trucks stopped moving, and my son was begging me to come back. "You do not own this anymore." My daughter-in-law, Chloe, sneered at me. The cursor hovered over the directory labeled legacy_automation_EH for 3 seconds before she clicked delete. She did not even look at me. She just kept that tight, self-satisfied smile on her face while the confirmation dialogue flashed on her monitor. "This house, this business, it is ours now," she said, her voice dropping into that condescending tone she reserved exclusively for me. The folder icon blinked twice, then vanished completely from the screen. I did not gasp. I did not cry. I simply closed my laptop, slid it into my leather tote, and stood up calmly. I had spent the last 4 years living in the guest suite of this house, managing the back-end database for my son's logistics company. I built the architecture from scratch. I kept the automated billing, client ledgers, and routing scripts running perfectly. I did it for free, to help Mark get on his feet. "Where are you going?" Mark asked, stepping into the home office. He held a coffee mug, looking entirely oblivious. As usual, he avoided making direct eye contact with his wife. "I am packing my bags," I said evenly. "Chloe has just taken over the system administration. My work here is done." It was just a folder full of outdated logs and old backup files. Chloe scoffed, crossing her arms. "We are cleaning up the cloud storage before the new marketing rollout. You need to learn that you are just a guest here. Evelyn, you do not run things." I smiled. It was a genuine smile. For months, she had treated me like an unwanted piece of furniture. She controlled the kitchen, dictated when I could see my grandson, and constantly reminded me of my place. I felt a sudden, profound weight lift off my shoulders. The days of walking on eggshells were finally over. I was finally choosing my own peace of mind. I walked out of the office and headed straight to my room. I did not look back. Behind me, the entire database was already beginning to lock itself down. To understand how we reached that moment, you have to understand the foundation I built. I am 68 years old, a retired systems architect. When Mark decided to start a local freight dispatch business, he had the ambition, but absolutely no capital and zero organizational skills. I sold my previous home, gave him a substantial gift to secure the down payment on this large property, and moved into the downstairs guest suite. More importantly, I built his entire digital infrastructure. I set up the servers, the automated payroll, the GPS truck routing, and the client invoicing databases. I maintained it quietly from my desk in the corner. Mark was the face of the company. I was the engine. Everything changed when he married Chloe. She loved the steady income the business generated, but she deeply resented my presence in the house. She wanted the guest suite for a home gym. She wanted total control over the finances. She had also recently leased a luxury SUV, calling it a business image expense even though the company was still carrying a heavy mortgage. Within months of moving in, she began marking her territory. She reorganized the kitchen and threw away my favorite cookware without asking. She constantly adjusted the thermostat to freezing temperatures, knowing I preferred it warm. She started making loud comments about how independent adults should not live with their mothers. I never argued with her. Arguing is a waste of energy. Instead, I quietly observed. I stopped buying the weekly household groceries. I purchased a small refrigerator for my room and kept my own provisions. I stopped doing their laundry and focused purely on maintaining the business servers. Mark noticed the shift, but chose the path of least resistance. He buried his head in his phone whenever tension spiked, hoping it would magically disappear. Chloe saw his silence as permission to push harder. She wanted me completely out of the picture, convinced that the business practically ran itself. She was about to learn a very hard lesson about how machinery actually operates. The real trouble started when Chloe demanded access to the company's servers. She claimed she was taking over the modern digital marketing for the business and needed full administrative privileges. Mark sat on the living room sofa, staring blankly at the television, telling me to just share the access to keep the peace. I did not raise my voice. I knew exactly where my boundaries were. I handed Chloe an operations admin credential with full right access. Exactly what Mark had insisted I give her. I did not give her a tutorial. I did not explain how the underlying architecture worked or how the automated maintenance scripts functioned. If she wanted to be the boss, she could figure out the landscape herself. That same afternoon, I logged into my banking portal. I calmly removed Mark as an authorized user on my emergency credit card, the one they frequently used to fill up their cars with premium gas. I canceled the auto draft that covered their premium cable package. If Chloe was taking charge of the household and the business, she could also take charge of the expenses. Chloe immediately started poking around the server. She complained constantly about my messy directory structures. She did not understand that the directory labeled legacy_automation_EH carried my initials because I had built it years earlier. But it housed the core automation scripts syncing the live operations with the automated backups. You need to modernize this, Evelyn, she told me one evening in the kitchen, tapping her manicured nails on the granite island. This old-school filing system is holding us back. I am doing a full audit tomorrow to clean out the dead weight. I took a slow sip of my chamomile tea. Do whatever you feel is best for the company. Chloe, I replied smoothly. I washed my mug, dried it, and walked back to my room. Once the door clicked shut, I pulled my second suitcase from the top shelf of the closet. I had a feeling the next 24 hours were going to be highly eventful. The next morning, Chloe was waiting for me in the hallway. She held a tablet in her hands, her posture rigid with unearned authority. She had spent the entire evening looking at server storage limits rather than actual system functions. Evelyn, she said sharply, I reviewed the storage report. Your folder is full of old logs, backup snapshots, and script archives. It looks like unapproved clutter, and I want it cleared out by this afternoon. Mark walked past us, grabbing his car keys. Just do what she asks. Mom, Chloe says the cloud bill is too high, and we need the storage cleaned up before the new promotional rollout. He muttered before slipping out the front door to avoid the conflict. Those files are the maintenance scripts and system health monitors, I stated clearly, giving her one final, factual warning. They are fully integrated into the daily operations. They are clutter, Chloe snapped back. This is exactly what I mean. You think you are indispensable because you hoard old backups and technical junk. I want that folder gone, or I will delete it myself. It is a security risk having your personal files mixed with our business system. She had completely convinced herself that I was holding on to power out of spite. She thought my directory was just a pile of outdated logs, backup fragments, and old technical files I refuse to let go. I will not delete it, I said, my voice completely steady. If you believe it is unnecessary, you have the administrative power to remove it, but I advise against it. Watch me, she scoffed, turning on her heel and marching toward the home office. I did not follow her immediately. I walked into my bedroom, zipped up my 2 packed suitcases, and gathered my car keys. I transferred my personal savings to a independent account. I checked my purse for my ID and passport. Everything was in perfect order. I wheeled my luggage into the hallway. I felt incredibly light. I walked into the office just as she settled into the desk chair, ready to prove her dominance, which brings us right back to that moment in the home office. Chloe hovered her cursor over my folder. "You do not own this anymore," she sneered, clicking delete. She truly believed she was evicting me from the system. She thought she was establishing absolute dominance over the business, the house, and my life. The confirmation box vanished. The deed was done. As I walked out of the house, pulling my luggage down the driveway, I did not feel a trace of sadness. I loaded my bags into the trunk of my sedan. The morning air felt crisp and refreshing. For years, I had subsidized their lifestyle with my labor and my savings. I had tolerated the disrespect because I wanted Mark to succeed. But support cannot exist without mutual respect. I drove across town to a quiet, upscale, extended stay hotel I had researched weeks ago. I checked in, paying upfront for a month. The room was immaculate. The thermostat was entirely under my control. I unpacked my clothes into the dresser, arranged my toiletries in the bathroom, and ordered a nice Cobb salad from room service. I did not text Mark. I did not leave a dramatic note on the kitchen counter. I simply removed my presence and my protection. Back at the house, the deletion was already causing a chain reaction. The automated scripts in my directory had maintained active, continuous connections to the main client database. Forcibly terminating those connections during active operation caused the reconciliation process to fail catastrophically. The safety protocols I had coded years ago did exactly what they were supposed to do. They initiated an emergency lockdown to prevent complete data corruption. The entire database encrypted itself and shut down. I sat on the edge of my hotel bed, enjoying my quiet lunch. I put my phone on silent, opened a new mystery novel, and turned the page. At 6 o'clock the next morning, the logistics business ground to an absolute halt. The dispatchers arrived at the office to pull the daily routes. The software failed to load. The screen returned a fatal connection error. Without my directory, the database was a locked vault. No trucks could be routed. No invoices could be generated. No client records could be accessed. The operation was completely paralyzed. I was enjoying a complimentary continental breakfast and a hot cup of coffee when the notifications started flooding my phone. 30 missed calls from Mark. 15 urgent texts from Chloe. The sheer panic radiating from the screen was palpable. I finished my toast before I finally decided to listen to Mark's voicemail. "Mom, please pick up." Mark's voice was trembling. "Everything is down. The dispatchers are locked out. The drivers are sitting in the lot. Chloe said she just deleted a folder, but the whole system is gone. We are losing thousands of dollars. Please, come fix this." I did not call him back. I sent one text, "I will meet you in the hotel lobby at noon for 10 minutes. I was no longer an employee of their company, and I certainly was not their personal safety net. At noon, I stepped into the hotel lobby and found Mark and Chloe waiting near the front desk. Mark looked disheveled, sweat beading on his forehead. Chloe looked pale and terrified, her usual arrogance completely drained. "You have to come back," Mark pleaded, stepping forward. "The business is dying. The clients are furious." "I am retired," I said calmly, keeping my purse on my shoulder and the front desk in view. "I moved out. Chloe is the system administrator now." "You did this on purpose," Chloe yelled, her voice shrill. "You set a trap to ruin us." I looked at her squarely. "I gave you a verbal warning. I told you the scripts were active. You chose to delete them to prove a point. The system reacted to your command. Fix it right now, Chloe demanded, stepping forward as if she could intimidate me into compliance. Restore the folder and get the trucks moving. I did not flinch. I did not raise my voice to match hers. I simply maintained eye contact until she looked away. I cannot restore it, I explained with quiet authority. You permanently deleted the core architecture. Rebuilding the reconciliation scripts and unlocking the database requires reconfiguring the permissions from scratch. It will likely take 10 business days, possibly longer if the backups have to be verified one by one. Then start working, Mark begged, running a hand through his hair. We will give you your room back. We will turn the heat up. Whatever you want. I do not want my room back, I replied softly. I do not want to live in a house where I am treated as an inconvenience. I am entirely done working for free. I reached into my leather tote, pulled out a single folded sheet of paper, and handed it to Mark. It was a printed list of 3 enterprise-level data recovery firms in the city. These professionals can rebuild your architecture, I told him. They will charge you roughly $300 an hour. I estimate the total cost will start around $20,000 and could climb toward $30,000 if they charge emergency rates. Mark turned the color of ash. $20,000, we do not have that kind of cash liquid right now, not with the mortgage and Chloe's SUV payments. That is a financial issue you must manage as the business owner, I said. You are actually going to let us fail, Chloe whispered, finally realizing that her tears and her anger held absolutely no power over me. I am letting you take full responsibility for the systems you demanded to control. I corrected her. You wanted ownership. You have it. Now, please leave the lobby. I have an appointment. They had no choice but to leave. For the first time, neither of them had anything clever to say. I spent the next few weeks enjoying my independence. I toured several properties and eventually purchased a beautiful 2-bedroom condominium near a large park. I paid the down payment using the savings I had preserved. I furnished it exactly to my taste. I set the thermostat to a comfortable 72 degrees. Nobody complained. Nobody moved my kitchen supplies. Mark and Chloe were forced to take out a high-interest emergency business loan to hire the data recovery firm. The consultants took 10 business days to rebuild the database and restore the client records. During that downtime, Mark lost 2 of his largest shipping contracts. The financial strain was immediate. Without my silent financial contributions, the groceries, the gas, the utility buffers, their lifestyle collapsed. Chloe had to cancel her plans for the home gym and the expensive Pilates instructor. She had to sell her luxury SUV and buy a practical used sedan to make the loan payments. I heard about these changes indirectly, mostly through brief, strained text messages from Mark. He never apologized directly for how I was treated, but his tone changed. The entitlement vanished, replaced by a quiet desperation. He finally understood the massive invisible weight I had been carrying for his family. I did not gloat. I did not send them "I told you so" messages. I simply let the natural consequences of their actions run their course. Practical reality is a far better teacher than any lecture I could have given them. When they asked to borrow $5,000 to cover payroll the following month, I politely declined. I told Mark my funds were tied up in my new condominium. This time, my answer did not bend. 6 months later, my new life was completely settled. My condominium was bright, organized, and peaceful. I joined a local book club and started volunteering a few days a week at the library. I managed my own schedule, my own finances, and my own peace of mind. Mark visited occasionally. He always came alone. He looked 5 years older, His shoulders slumped under the weight of actually running his business without a safety net. We would sit on my balcony, drink coffee, and make polite small talk about the weather or my grandson. He complained often about the consultant's fees, which were still draining his monthly profits. He talked about how incredibly difficult it was to manage the routing software without the automated scripts I had built. I listened patiently. I offered basic, non-committal sympathy. That sounds very challenging, I would say. I never offered to log in and fix it. I never offered a single line of code. During one visit, he looked down at his coffee cup and sighed. "Chloe misses having you around the house." He lied poorly. "We both do. If you ever wanted to move back, or just help out with the server for a few hours a week, we would really appreciate it." I smiled warmly, recognizing the trap disguised as an olive branch. "I am very happy here, Mark," I told him, looking around my quiet, perfectly ordered living room. "I am officially retired from database management, but I am always happy to see you for coffee." He nodded slowly, finally accepting that the door was permanently closed. He finished his coffee, gave me a brief hug, and walked back to his car. I watched him drive away, feeling no guilt whatsoever. I never returned to their house. I saw my grandson on my terms, usually taking him to the park or hosting him at my condominium for an afternoon. Chloe was always conspicuously absent during these drop-offs. We had reached an unspoken, highly functional truce based entirely on distance and clear boundaries. I learned later that the business stabilized, but it never returned to the profit margins they enjoyed when I was providing free, expert labor. They had to learn to live within their actual means, not the inflated reality I had subsidized. Sometimes, while sitting on my balcony with my morning tea, I think about that specific moment in the home office. I think about Chloe's smug face as she clicked delete, so absolutely certain that she was putting me in my place. She thought power was about raising your voice and claiming space. She did not understand that real power is quiet. Real power is knowing your exact value and being perfectly willing to pack your bags and walk away when that value is disrespected. I did not need a lawyer. I did not need to scream or fight. I simply let her have exactly what she demanded. I allowed her to take the steering wheel of a machine she did not know how to drive, and I stepped out of the vehicle before it crashed. My life now is entirely my own. The database is closed. The directory is clear, and the peace I feel is worth every single thing I left behind. Never mistake someone's silence for weakness. Sometimes the person who says the least is the one holding everything together.